welcome. Take It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Joyce Kim, who is the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer at ARM. Hi, Joyce.
Hello.
Wow, I'm thinking, what is that?
I know.
Chief Marketing Officer, I understand, but Chief Digital also. Why two different titles?
Well, there is a evolution of the Chief Marketing Officer role. It's actually sort of been going on for many, many years. I think that if you look at the role of the Chief Marketing Officer, it's becoming much, much, much more digital-centric, especially over the last 5 to 7 years. I was reading about 5-7 years ago that the CMO of most companies will have bigger budgets than CIOs.
Oh.
And so when you look at that and the massive amount of sort of digital tools and MarTech technology that's out there, we kind of decided, look, there's so much of the digital realm that touches the customer journey, the customer acquisition, customer retention angle, that, kind of bringing it all into one perspective with a external view in mind was super important. And so we decided, instead of having a Chief Marketing Officer and a Chief Digital Officer, that we would combine that.
Wow. So you have 400 people reporting to you.
Yeah.
You've been there for over 4 years.
Yeah.
So you've certainly seen the changes in the industry and some of the trends and the growth. Maybe you can talk about that. What's hot?
I mean, today, we're at ARM all about enabling sort of scale compute in the globe, right? With 160 billion chips out there, we want to make sure that, the advancements in AI and ML, certainly, autonomous and other safety features that now are pretty standard in newer automobiles. Connected homes and connected workplaces, IoT. I mean, these are the areas that are really, really driving it, especially with 5G, where, sort of the next generation of networks that will have literally a, mind-blowing amount of bandwidth that will allow people to do things in smaller devices like your smartphone that you just wouldn't do today.
Well, they certainly can watch a lot more videos.
You can download it. You can watch videos today. You can download something within seconds. I mean, think about that. Your car can process information that it just can't today using cellular network technology. So it completely changes sort of the level of, compute and the functions that we can do anywhere.
Right. So for those who might not know, ARM actually has the intellectual property, but you don't actually make the chips. You license your IP to the chip makers.
That's right. We are the designer of the computer chips or the processor technology. We work with what we call our customers and partners to actually develop the chips, but we are not the chip developer.
And that has enabled you to make so many chips, like what, 160 billion?
That's
wow.
right.
So let's hear some of the use cases that you think your technology is going to enable for us to see in the future.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we have been sort of the backbone behind the smartphone, right? Today, if you look at the smartphone, it's got more power than the full PC that did a couple years ago. So, you look at AI as a great example where everything is becoming smarter.
Yes.
And today, actually, much of AI is resident in your smartphone. Think about you controlling everything. I can open my garage right now.
Yes.
So there's advantages to that, but it's really the learning and the capability that these devices will have to be smart, really smart, to know when you're going to need something before you know it, to rearrange your schedule knowing that you're running late. I mean, there's so many use cases that we can enable. And then, like I said, with 5G, giving you the network to do that, to really connect everything, bring the data together, have an entire new infrastructure that opens up doors to how you're going to apply some of this technology is great. Facial recognition, object recognition, sensor technology. I mean, this is all what's going to change.
I think there's a lot of things that we're touching every day that actually has ARM blueprint in there, but we're just not aware of it. As a consumer, I only know the name of the brands.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I actually, when I speak at certain audiences, the first question I'll ask is, how many of you in here have a smartphone? Literally every single hand goes up. And I'm like, you are all using ARM technology.
Okay.
So we touch about 70% of the population on the planet.
Wow. Okay. So where is the development that is going to be the next high growth for you?
I mean, certainly AI and ML will be a huge area, as is sort of the 5G networking technology, IoT. Those are the areas. IoT is one of the most fascinating spaces. It's been talked about for many, many years. It's not a new concept, but to make it happen is really, really hard. So think about industrial uses. Most companies have multi-supplier scenarios.
Yes.
So you're getting, whether it's meters or your manufacturing devices or your logistics, from different suppliers and vendors with different systems and different networks. And as a company that's utilizing all of that, you want to make it as easy as possible to connect everything, to manage everything, and to get data and insights from everything. But you don't want to use 3 different systems for each supplier. And so that's the problem we're trying to solve. As ARM, the common denominator for all of it, we can provide sort of what we call a single pane of glass, so that whatever cloud you're using, whatever vendor you're using, whatever network you're using, we can bring that together and provide that ease of management and visibility.
I want to touch on security, because with a lot of IoT devices, there's a lot more doors to open. What is ARM doing on the security front to secure the hardware?
Security and hardware is one of the, really, really holy grail areas, right? Software definitely is the first line of defense. Actually, first line of defense is behavior.
Yes.
Don't open that thing and click on it, right? But assuming that there is entry, you do have software that will mitigate a lot of the security issues. But where it becomes difficult is, for example, if you are trying to manage a piece of hardware, you can spoof it. So you can make it seem like you're managing that software, but you're actually doing something else. We can, at a hardware level, if you're able to handshake or authenticate that, yep, that's the device and it's real, then you have that security layer that you wouldn't. So, in a world where everything is connected and everything is talking to each other, as you said, the vulnerability surface area just becomes so large that I think without hardware level security, that's just one massive line of defense that we will be missing.
All right. I want to go into marketing.
Yes.
Now that we're looking at your role as head of digital and marketing, that must be a shift in where ARM wants the brand to be perceived.
It is and it isn't. I think it's more of a power to the brand. So if you think about what most marketing people do is they will express their brand in different ways, whether it's marketing campaigns or, the narrative that they're talking about. We want to be able to live that in areas that touch all parts of the customer journey, and having sort of the holistic role of both marketing and digital allows me to do that. We can take truly across the board, whether it's, the marketing website to delivering our products to servicing our customers, you're able to take that entire journey and experience and make sure that it's brand worthy, make sure that whatever I'm saying I'm actually delivering on. We also can shift thinking inside so that instead of thinking about the traditional way where I do something and a customer comes and interacts with it, we're thinking about how does a customer want to experience it? How should they experience it? What is the best way for us to service and, engage with them. That's what we're after.
And I feel like the shift or maybe the importance of placing this digital role on top of the customer, the marketing role is that you want to make sure that the story is being heard from more than just the vendors who are using or the customers that are using, but more like consumers understand what ARM is doing that enables them to benefit in their daily lives.
Yeah,
like
that's
go
actually,
beyond that circle to expand its circle.
That's new for us. So one of the things that, ARM's been around for, I think, 27, 28 years. We have a long history in the industry.
Yes.
And we're actually really well known to the semiconductor industry. And one of the things that, as a CMO, I remember coming in saying, like, we touch 70% of people's lives. Like, let's make it relatable.
Yes.
Let's give them something that they can, sort of put their arms around and understand, this foundational technology that they're all touching. And so we started sort of creating these Made Possible video series where we featured some really interesting stories. We wanted to get to the human level. We wanted to showcase how we're impacting people's lives, actually even society. Like one example is we worked with this brilliant entrepreneur who developed a AR, VR, or just VR experience to detect unconscious bias in teachers. So it's sort of based on your eye movement, your gaze, who you look at first, how you react to certain students. It gives them a sense of things that they weren't even realizing that they were doing. And I thought, gosh, that's such a powerful story generally about people, a human element of unconscious bias that we have in the workplace, that we have in our social lives. And so it's just a demonstration of how this technology could really influence, how we become better.
I want to shift to the personal side. I know you've gone through an amazing journey of discovering that you had cancer and how that changed your view of life and how you've made some changes. And I thought it would be great if you could share that story.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty typical where, you're young, you're ambitious, you focus on your career, and you'll do the personal things tomorrow. There's always time, And when you get news that, and again, I wasn't told you're going to die, right? I'm very, very fortunate and blessed in that way. But you get news that alters your life, that makes you kind of take a step back and think like, okay, is this where I want to be? Is this reflective of the life I want to lead? I think the irony of it is that I don't know that it actually changed the trajectory overall, but it did make me think about things that I probably never thought about before. Good example is, at a day-to-day level when I'm frustrated, like I always remind myself, does this really matter? Is this something I'm going to expend negative energy on, right? And I part that to my team when, there's frustrations or things that are happening, and I'll say, pick your battles. Like, is this the thing that you really want to die on the hill for? Or is this the thing that is going to make or break it? No. When you're frustrated that 10 things aren't going right, well, pick the 3 things that you want to go right and focus on those. But we're emotional human beings. It's in our, sort of innate nature to react.
Yes, and I think certainly a health scare like that, it makes you think about how precious time is and your priorities.
Yeah.
Right? Shifting the priorities that you may not thought. You thought you have so much time to achieve, but now you realize, you know what? It's not indefinite.
Yeah. And, the balancing that many women do with family, kids, work, career, it's definitely daily decisions that you have to make. I remember somebody telling me, I have FOMO, fear. I was like, what is that? They're like, fear of missing out. It's like, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to go fly to that meeting when everybody else is because it's important to me that I attend my kids' soccer game.
Right.
So I have the luxury of being comfortable making those decisions. I hope everybody else does.
So certainly a company like ARM must be looking at how do we ensure the culture that we want, right? A culture where people are respected for their achievement, but understanding that people are a lot more than just a worker, right? It's a whole person that you're dealing with.
Yeah. I think in a perfect world, it would be great if we could get there. There's definitely today, and we're very fortunate that I think the corporate landscape is very supportive of that. If you look at D&I and you look at sort of, the culture of the workplace, but I think there's still more pockets of expectations that are different, and I do know that, people struggle with it, and so we have to make it okay for them to make those decisions and be conscious about it, and it's okay. Now, I always say the flip side, meaning, if you're going to make those conscious decisions, then you may not get exactly what you want, right? You may not progress as fast as you want. You may not get that particular project that you're wanting, but that's the conscious decision. The deal isn't you get to go do everything you want, yet I still get everything I want at work. I think it's those trade-offs that you have to make.
Yes. And, yes, sometimes it's a challenge to pick one over the other if you don't really have the choices as many. But I think in the end, it does come down to us making a decision on what's most important at that moment.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a great story, very inspirational. And you are doing very well right now. Head of marketing, head of digital at a fantastic company. Yes, and healthy, most important.
Yeah.
And you have a wonderful family.
Yes.
So it's been success all around for you.
Well, let's hope.
I appreciate you being on the show, talk about ARM, the technology, about marketing, and your personal journey.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce, for being on the show.
Enjoyed it.
There you have it, Joyce Kim from ARM.